On Lady Madison, Hercules Mulligan, that tail is flying on the British government. I take the measurement, information that then I smuggle it. Lafayette, I'm taking this horse by the reins, red coat, red blood stains, and I'm never gonna stop till I'm gonna drop my burning up, scan the remains. Washington, Alexander Hamilton, troops are waiting in the field for you. If we manage to get this right, one last time. Hit it, feeling really good about this. And then they asked me something that surprised me. They said, hey, I'm looking at your resume, and I'm seeing you in a wonderful audition. I'm just looking at your resume, I'm seeing a lot of classical stuff on here, opera stuff you say. I see a little bit of that. Again, do you happen to have an opera on you? I got a bag full of concerts. But I said, yes, I'm doing this. To see obstacles along the way. I'm doing it. I know myself. I can figure this out. And so I said, yeah. So to answer your question, I do not have any opera stuff on me. But they were like, no, don't worry about it. I can just, I said, no, wait. I can figure it out. Just give me a second. And yeah, that's something. And I went over to the pianist. And I said, excuse me, if I may just sit the piano for just a moment, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm playing and I'm warming up and I'm like, how high do you want to sing today, Tamar? I didn't warm up for opera, okay? So I found it. I figured it out. And I said, okay, now what do I sing? My mom's favorite artist. So now, after 7.5 years, 2,043 performances, I said yes again. Even though it's not convenient, I said yes, but this time to me. And I decided to leave Hamilton. It is not convenient, right? Like I said, I'm a father, husband, taking on the way. It was not easy, but I knew it was what I needed. Even though it wasn't convenient, I know that growth never is. Opportunity is never convenient. Your dreams rarely respect your schedule. I bet out there one of you, many of you, have an opportunity that feels very difficult, maybe impossible. A lot of obstacles. That might just be your doorway. So if anybody asks me for any piece of advice, I say don't wait for it to be simple. It will never be simple. Say yes before it's easy. Thank you.
One of the lessons I learned while organizing this year's event is you cannot solve if you cannot see it. And Dr. Sarah Bonzo, who is a department chair in management and marketing department in College of Business and Entrepreneurship, US Rigo, and experts in operations and transformation, help people see clearly. She works at the intersection of systems and the people and health organization to stop reacting and start understanding. Please join me in welcoming Sarah Bonzo on our stage.
circles when there are no decisions and no real progress. It doesn't feel great. Because most of us are overwhelmed, pulled in 100 different directions by competing priorities, endless messages and emails, and standing meetings that don't make the calendar. We've started to wear this busyness as a badge of honor, and it's not a great thing. In the last 2 decades alone, the average number of meetings per leader has more than doubled. More than doubled. How is that even possible? It's because increasingly our leaders are spending their days in conference rooms or on Zoom or Teams, looking at dashboards, talking about the work instead of seeing it firsthand. This cycle has become so normal, so much so that when we walk into the same conference room for the same weekly meeting, we literally sit in the same seats. Same room, same chairs, same conversations, and eventually the same thinking. Now, it's not that meetings are necessarily bad, it's that we're trying to solve problems from too far away from where the work is actually happening, and that distance is a problem. There's an old saying at Toyota that leaders at all levels of the organization should wash their hands 3 times a day. Because if your hands are dirty from helping out on the shop floor, you aren't close enough to work. This is the leadership practice of going to Gemba. Gemba is a Japanese term that means the real place, or the actual place something happens. Now, this concept is super simple. We need to understand something fully before we try to fix it. But increasingly, we're trying to solve problems from too far away. Let me show you what I mean. When we're in meetings, we're at 10,000 feet. From up here, the view's good. We can see patterns and trends, and we can tell when there's a problem. But this is where learning lives. Down here, up close, in the weeds. Because the detail that you see there is critical to solving problems and making better decisions. Again, the problem is when we're in meetings oftentimes, the conversation is swirling. We're at 10,000 feet, so we have to be really mindful. Do we have all the details, or do we need to come down? Do we need to see up close? For example, I was recently working with a large manufacturer, and they were having issues with their customer response times. They sell sophisticated technology to very large clients. They knew they had a problem because they were getting complaints, and that is never a good thing. So, they started tracking data, looking at the turnaround times, building dashboards, setting targets and goals, and talking about it in meetings. There was a lot of emphasis on this problem. But none of them had gone together. This is an opportunity to come down, spend time with customer support, understand the questions they're getting, understand how they're routing that back to the engineering team, how engineering is prioritizing that, how they're getting that back to customer support, and how that's getting back to the customer. That's the detail that's required to solve that problem. We don't get that by talking about it in meetings alone. I've been in countless senior leadership meetings in hospitals with healthcare executives looking at dashboards for patient satisfaction. Anybody here who works in healthcare, you know what this is like. Monthly reports, if your numbers look good, everybody's like, oh yeah, this is amazing, we're crushing it. And then the numbers dip, and everybody stresses out. It's a roller coaster ride. And it doesn't actually help solve the problem. But there's an opportunity to go to Gemba. Now that data is helpful. And this is where data and meetings, again, are helpful because at 10,000 foot view, it lets us know that there's a problem. So if we see a unit is persistently having a challenge, again, that's our opportunity. Go to Gemba. Get out of the meeting and go and spend time with every single caregiver that's on that unit and touches that patient's journey. Understand their processes, their challenges, and listen to their ideas. Better yet, be a patient yourself. I've worked with a few healthcare leaders who unexpectedly found themselves in the position of a patient within their own health system, and it completely transformed their view of their role and what was really needed in the organization. Those first-hand experiences change us. It changes how we show up. and we don't get that in a conference room. Assumptions fall apart the closer we get to the work. And when we go to Gemba, when done well, it reliably results in an aha moment. It is a beautiful thing because you know when it happens. You have a reaction like, oh, I didn't realize that. And that in and of itself is proof of learning. As a systems engineer turned management consultant, a lot of my work has been in healthcare because of the very powerful aha moment I had early in my career. I was working for a hospital that needed help with their surgical schedule. I had all the data. I could run the simulation models and do the analysis. I thought I knew the problem until I went to Gemba. I can still vividly see two elderly patients. This was like 20 years ago, and I can literally see when they were in the rooms. They were forever etched in my memory because it was my first time in the operating room, and I saw that they were scared. They had waited all day, much longer than expected. I saw the compassion of the caregivers, but I also saw that they were stressed. There were delays at every single step, not because they didn't have a sophisticated scheduling tool, but because of broken processes and poor communication. The need was much different than what I thought originally looking at the data, and it was much more personal. It was an aha moment, and it has stayed with me. Again, when done well, going to Gemba reliably results in an aha moment. I was recently working with a health system looking to reduce wait times in the emergency department. So a couple of us went to Gemba. After a quick chat with the triage nurse, she said, I don't know why we don't have a stick cart in triage here. We'd be able to get labs and patients through so much faster. A stick cart is essentially a mobile blood draw cart. She said, we did that at so-and-so hospital and it made a big difference. Of course. Simple. Seemingly obvious. That travel nurse knew exactly what was needed because she had seen it work at another hospital. Transformation rarely comes from sweeping overhaul. It comes from small insights found up close. All we have to do as leaders is take the time to go see, show respect, listen and help. Going to Gemba is an incredibly powerful leadership practice because not only are you solving problems, but you're showing respect to the people that do the value-added work in the organization. Anybody can do this in any industry, in any role to solve any problem. So here are some tips if you want to give it a try. First, be intentional. Where would you go? What would you see? Why is it important? Who would you talk to? How would you introduce yourself? Like, hey, I'm Sarah, can I come and watch you for a while? Feels like an awkward ask the first time you do it. It gets easier with time. But you might want to tee it up like this. We're talking about this in meetings. I know it's important. I don't fully understand it. Can I hang out with you so I can see it from your perspective and get your thoughts? Then people will generally say like, oh yeah, let me show you. So if you get the green light to go to Gemba, then listen. Don't try to solve problems yourself. Try really hard not to judge how the work is being done. Use the golden rule. Show the expert respect. They do that job all day long. They know what needs to change. And really take time. Don't squeeze 15 minutes in between meetings. Go for an hour or two, or better yet, go the full day. Because the work ebbs and flows, there's slow times, and there's crazy busy times, and everything in between, and you want to see it all. And you want to get to know the folks doing that important work. A student of mine is an administrator at a long-term care facility, and so for her Gemba assignment for class, she decided to spend the entire day with her frontline team doing rounds in resident rooms. Now she runs the entire facility, she knows the business inside and out, but it had been a very long time since she had spent time with her care team actually going into resident rooms. She spent the whole day and she was floored at how hard it was for them to call for help. Now there was an emergency call bell in every single room, but it would trigger a full-scale emergency response, and that is not what was needed. It was typically an extra set of hands, getting somebody out of the shower, off the toilet, or grabbing an extra supply. But the team didn't want to set off alarm bells, so they wait for somebody to walk by in the hallway and shout to them, or just go without the help. She saw this happen over and over again, and she couldn't believe it. At the end of the day, she asked her team what they thought, what might help. She said at first they were hesitant, but then they started coming up with ideas. One of them was walkie-talkies. The next day, she showed up with walkie-talkies for her entire team, and she has been floored at the difference that it's made in communication, coordination, and direct resident care. Better yet, her team knew she cared, and that has ripple effect. Because caring leaders deliver better results. It's really important, so I'm going to say it again. Caring leaders deliver better results. And the data shows this as well. My colleagues and I got employee reviews for hundreds of U.S. hospitals, and we compared those reviews to patient experience scores at those same hospitals. We looked at dozens of variables, and only one predicted the patient experience. Only one. Culture. Employee perceptions of culture within their hospital predicted the patient experience. So let me say that another way. If you're a nurse in a long-term care facility and you struggle with basic daily communication, you feel like nobody cares, you're likely going to be frustrated, and the patient will feel that. But the flip side is true too. Hospitals that had very strong and positive scores for culture, in the comments, employees would consistently say things about inclusive and supportive leadership. Over and over again, those were the words that were used. Supportive leaders deliver better results. Supportive leaders show up. They listen and they help. So going to Gemba isn't just for healthcare. It isn't just for Toyota, and it's not just for leaders. It works anywhere with anyone because the principles are universal. Seeing something firsthand changes you. It builds understanding, that builds empathy, and that shifts your perspective. That's learning, that's growth. But the problem is modern leadership pulls us up into meetings all day. So we have to be really mindful of coming back down, recognizing when we need additional detail. So if you're ever in a meeting and it feels like the conversation is swirling again, just pause. Are we at 10,000 feet? Do we need to know a little bit more? If so, call an audible. Go to Gemba. Because as soon as you step into somebody else's shoes and see what they see, assumptions fall apart. You learn and you grow. So as I leave you today, I want you to consider one thing. Where's your Gemba? Where would you go? Who would you talk to? The opportunity is almost always closer than we think. All you have to do is go see. Thank you.
Damn. She cooked. She cooked. What's up, Taylor? How you doing? Chilling. Nah, she cooked on that one.
Inspiration does not always look loud. Sometimes it looks like decades of dedication. William Brett, who was studied right here in New Oswego and followed his curiosity all the way to become a world global